This is Umar for BoxNation. I'm in the headquarters of Frank Warren. I'm joined by Frank Warren after an incredible weekend. Unfortunately, City ruined your perfect weekend.
Oh, don't.
But we won't talk about that.
Referee, I don't want to talk about that referee.
Let's talk about...
I'm off for referees and fight referees as well. Well, we'll talk about that.
We'll come on to referees in a bit, but I actually just want to start with a few pictures. I want you to just talk me through a couple of photos from Daniel Dubois' career. So this is when you first signed Daniel. Just talk me through this photo, Frank.
Well, what's that? That's 9 years ago. Did you mean that one? 9 years ago, yeah. Yeah, that was a good day. He was only a youngster. We sponsored him for a little while, and then on his birthday, turned pro with us.
On his birthday?
I think it was on his birthday, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that was the moment that, changed a lot for his life. And yeah, of course, of course. Next photo I want to give you is this. Just talk me through this.
That's what year is that?
Very early on.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's an explosive knockout coming there. Yeah. That is early on. I mean, look, like most guys when they turn pro, but he was still a teenager. He was blasting them out in style, doing it in style.
I'd say his first sort of notable fight that maybe crossed a bit of an audience on BT Sport. Was that the O2 as well?
Against Nathan. Yeah, Nathan Gorman.
What a spectacular win that was.
It was a spectacular win. You know, Nathan was a seasoned pro and a very good, test, and he dealt with it in style.
Remember actually with Nathan Gorman, that was touted as a 50-50 fight.
Correct.
It didn't turn out to be 50-50.
No, it did, because if he gets you in trouble, you are in trouble with him. There's no doubt about it. We've seen that many times now.
He's first out into the States. I'm sure he'll have a few more. He's only 27 years old, and he's obviously a bit of a star now, a big star from Saturday. But yeah, he's first out into the States in Miami. That
was the Miami fight. Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, a big again, a devastating knockout punch. Devastating. It was a big moment for him.
Another outing, but this time to Poland. Talk me through this with Alexander Usyk.
Yeah, well, there he is, with old Alexander, who is by the way, I like him. He's a good guy. Body shot, and he made the most of it. And that referee, to this day, I'm so disappointed in what he did. We know what he did. For me, it was not a low blow, but look, it's gone. And I've got to tell you something, maybe it's a blessing in disguise, because out of that fight, I think he became a different person. You know, when he watched the fight back, and we discussed it a lot with him, his dad and his team, I think a lot of lessons were learnt from that, and I think it was the making of him.
He certainly learnt a lot from that Usyk fight, because that run he's been on has been sensational since. And you're right, maybe it was a blessing in disguise. Something that took a little bit longer, though, to get out of his system, if we strip it back to lockdown. And I'm just looking at this photo where Joyce is walking away and Daniel's, on the floor taking a knee and counting himself out because of that broken eye he had. But that, in lockdown, those circumstances, his first loss, those were horrendous circumstances for him. And I remember actually a video he put out when he was training at home on a bike, and he said, "I will be back with a vengeance." Yeah. I don't think many people believed it at the time. He was getting heavily criticised by a lot of notable names, ex-pros.
Yeah, very.
Talk me through this with Joyce.
Well, look, the fight originally, when it was made, believe it or not, we made it originally before COVID, and we sold out the O2. It sold out more or less immediately, and that would have been, imagine the atmosphere for that fight. But COVID stopped it from happening, and it was one of those fights that we did during a COVID lockdown. And it was what it was, as you said. He suffered 4 horrific fractures to his orbital socket and nearly detached the retina. The retina was torn, and had he carried on, and he couldn't have carried on anyway. But had he carried on, he wouldn't be fighting today, because his retina would have been detached. And as the specialist said at the time, getting hit there, and the nerve pain is quite a unique. Well, it's a unique injury, but anyway, it was what it was. We talked about it a million times, and again, it's a lesson. And he come back. He was a young man, and he was in front on the judges' cards going into that round, and he only had to stand up and he would have won. But Joe was coming on strong. He was boxing well, Joe, and his jab was really doing well. But again, it was one of those moments. They're all things that happen in a career that what a champion has to overcome. You want to be the best, and you want to get through these things. It's all about trials and tribulations. And to me, like I've said all along, he will prove and has proven what he's made of.
To be fair, that night, I mean, Joe Joyce has a tremendous chin, especially early on in his career. You really couldn't budge Joe Joyce. And
well, Joe said it was the hardest he's ever been hit in a fight. He went on record as saying that.
Daniel caught him clean a lot of times.
Yeah.
But Joe, boxed an extremely good fight that night.
He did.
And then we fast forward to Saturday night. Yourself and him are sitting at the post-fight press conference, and he's shocked the world, Daniel Dubois, but not shocked you.
It didn't shock me at all. I mean, that was a nice moment sitting there afterwards, introducing him as a bona fide world champion now. Look, he didn't shock me because I said, I went on record before the fight saying this fight is going to be about who puts the other guy on the back foot. The key to it will be the jab. That in my opinion, that AJ is open to a counter punch when he lets his right hand go. And if you look at the first round, the first meaningful jab was a brilliant jab from Daniel. Daniel was really up for it. He was focused. He threw a really beautiful jab that snapped AJ's head back. And I think from that moment on, he kept him on the back foot until that last round when just before the last round, AJ caught him with a really good uppercut, and he took that. And then AJ, I think he said in his corner it's going to be shit or bust, or roll the dice was the words he used. He's posher than me. And that's what he did. He came out and threw that right hand. And once he did that, then once he throws that right hand, that chin's there to be caught. And he caught him with a counter, and that was it.
One last photo I actually want to show you, and it's not photoshopped, which is quite incredible, and it just shows the punching power of Daniel Dubois. I think you know what photo I'm going to show
I've
you.
seen it. Yeah, it's a horrific photograph, isn't it? It's horrific, but he's a tough, strong. He's a big puncher, and he's a hurtful puncher, and I don't care who you are. If he catches you, you're in trouble. You are in trouble, and he's a good finisher. And he showed what he's about. And I said as well, I keep saying what I said like I'm a know-all, but I made the point that when he goes into the ring, going into that ring, he walked first, and the reason he walked first and he was champion because when we signed the contracts, he wasn't champion. It was before the Hrgovic fight, and that was the agreement we made to get the fight, and I wanted the fight for him, and that's where we got to with it. And they generally thought he was going to be fighting Hrgovic. That's what they thought, and it wasn't to be. But anyway, he walked in first, and I said, they may boo him, some of the people going in, because they're faithful AJ supporters. But I promise you, when he leaves the ring, they'll cheer him, and they did. They cheered him.
The mentality of Daniel Dubois is something that's always been questioned, and you've been vocal on camera, and you've told me off camera, with Daniel, it's just up here because he's got everything else. And we've seen that in the Miller fight, the Hrgovic fight, and the fight with AJ, and at times with Usyk, where he was doing really well with him. Yeah. He literally has every attribute in the book, but something, as a young man, perhaps wasn't quite right up there.
He was a young man, and he's an introvert. He's not a guy. I mean, he didn't even want to go to the press conference after the fight.
What, on Saturday?
No, he didn't. He's not. I've got to tell you, there's no ego about it or anything. He's amazing. I said to him, "Come on, you got to go to." I said, "You've been 20 minutes. Come on." And I spoke to Stan, his dad, and we got him out there. But he's all he wants to do is fight. The rest of it he's not interested in. He's got no interest in all the PR side of it and whatever. It's not his thing. And he has come out of he's sort of come out of himself a bit since the Usyk fight, and certainly at the pre-fight stuff, like the round table stuff, all the press commitments and that, and been quite focused and quite strong about some of the things he said to his opponents, and I'm pleased with that. But this fight against AJ, he was full on focus for it all the time. He couldn't make out. You know what I mean? What you see is what you get. That is it.
One moment, talking about like the round table with Joshua, he said to him, "You can't intimidate me."
Yeah.
And there was a feeling, especially from the other side, and Eddie and Anthony were going to push that narrative that this occasion with 98,000 people at Wembley Stadium, Anthony's one of the biggest superstars in the world, that it would be too much for Daniel. But Daniel did say at that round table, "You can't intimidate me." Exactly what happened.
Look, you've got to realise he went when he fought Usyk. He went in as a big underdog in that fight. Fought Usyk in front of. It was in Poland, but it was a big Ukrainian crowd there. Partisan Ukrainian crowd for obvious reasons. They were in Poland instead of Ukraine, but it was a big test for him. A big, to see what he was about. But he got in. He went in the ring, and he was quite close to pulling off what people felt would have been a big upset. In Saudi, he was the underdog against Miller. Everybody thought Miller was going to beat him because he certainly, mentally thought he was going to be all over Daniel. And for a while he was doing all the trash talk and that, and Daniel come back with quite I think it was the comment of the press conference.
The daddy comment.
Yeah, whatever you're calling on me, tuck you up in bed, all that. But, and round table stuff, he held his own. Same with Hrgovic stuff. Keep calling him a quitter and that. And you speak to people about the sparring at him and, or say, speak to Martin Bowers, who was there. He said that didn't happen, what was being said. He said those sparring sessions were unbelievably competitive. He said they didn't do it once. He said that about 4 or 5. He said, and they were very competitive. But you've got to bear in mind, when Daniel was doing that, he was a teenager against a man. And anyway, all those things, we talked about, and I've talked about, probably bored everybody with them. But the fact of the matter is, I knew that this would be his night. I knew he would shine, and he did what he had to do. He handled the occasion, the big occasion, really well. He was focused, prepared, determined, and he delivered.
So as a young man, when you've put so much faith into Daniel Dubois, paid him really well. It's no secret that he's been looked after, Daniel Dubois. You've put all that belief into him. You've promoted the hell out of him. Someone who had no really amateur background or experience.
Or senior amateur.
A senior amateur, yeah. And you had all these big names, especially after the Joyce fight, railing in their comments about him, notable figures from, ex-fighters. How did you feel about that as a promoter?
Well, some of the people I'm disgusted with, in as much that they're fighters, former fighters. And some of it's aimed probably not at him, more at me, because they're small-minded pricks who are doing it, and they know what I mean. And now, even before the fight, he's going to get, he's going to be out of his depth and all this, and lots of them. They know they are, and the people who are watching this know who they are. They've heard their comments, and they were wrong. And they're wrong, and, he did what he had to do. He's shown courage, he's shown grit, he's done it. He's world champion. You dress it up how you like, that's what he is. He's got a seat at the big table. He announced himself on the big platform, not just as a boxing star, as a sports star, certainly in this country. Everybody's talking about it. It's been on the radio. We've been doing the radio this morning, TV, everything. He's there. And if he'd done a bit more media, can you imagine how big he'd be? But he's not interested. Those people, who've been slagging him off, it's that to me I find is quite amusing. I find it's amusing with them because they're all supposed to be experts. They've all got their podcasts and all these different things they say, but they know fuck all, and that's a fact of life. They talk, they say things for effect, and they don't know. It's like, they always say the worst tipsters in horse racing are the jockeys.
And you think that's the same with boxing?
That's an old adage. They're the worst tipsters. And some of these guys, they don't know what they're talking about.
Frank, in terms of the media side of things, I think it's been incredible. Even before the Joshua fight, how much of a name Dubois became, and as I said, he doesn't do much press, media. But now I know him and his dad are not interested in that. But he's just beaten Anthony Joshua in front of 98,000 people. The whole country was watching. Even the whole boxing world was watching across in the States and everywhere. Surely you have to push him now in that department with him to get get him to do more media and press. No.
Well, look, he'll do it if he wants to do it. It's part of the job, and he'll do it. But he's not really interested. He's going on holiday at the end of the week. We've got a couple of things we're going to do this week, but he's just not up for it. And I'm not going to force him to do it. I'm not going to force him to do it. If he wants to do it, he'll do it. He'll grow into it. He seems to be a bit more comfortable with himself now. He doesn't seem so awkward as sometimes he is. But
no, he's better on camera.
Yeah. Once you got him there, it's like the horse to water. Once you got him there, he's brilliant. He's brilliant at the press conference afterwards, wasn't he? But he didn't want to do it. He did not want to do it. But once he does it, once he's sitting down, he's good. And he should enjoy the moment. Enjoy it. He's proved everybody wrong.
We all knew about his punching power. Every top heavyweight from Britain that I spoke to in the lead up to this fight said his jab's like a backhand and his power is thunderous. But what was more impressive on Saturday night, and we're talking about Anthony Joshua, a gold medalist, got an incredible CV as a professional as well, wealth of experience. But Daniel Dubois was smarter, faster, stronger, more powerful, really in every department he outshined them.
Well, I've read a couple now, like Johnny Nelson, a couple of them said about he didn't show up. It's not about he did show up, but he weren't allowed to shine. Daniel Dubois showed up and he went for it. The tactics were dead on. Put him on the back foot. All the way through I said, whoever goes on the back foot's going to lose this. Because they're not counter punchers. They're big offensive fighters. So you negate them and put them on the back foot, and that's what he did. When did AJ look good? When he come forward throwing no shots. He leaves himself exposed, but when he comes forward throwing no shots.
That first round where Daniel...
Charles done a great job.
He has. Yeah.
Don Charles has done I'm not going to say nothing, Don's done a good job with him.
And Kieran Farrell's coming to...
And Kieran. It's a good team. They both work well together, and they're good. Everybody was on point. His dad was good in the corner. The whole thing worked as it should work. I wound up just sitting outside the corner. I went round, normally where we sit watching the fight, so I wasn't having that. I wanted to be in that corner. I lost my voice screaming out, but anyway.
Yeah, you and George both lost your voices.
Yeah.
That first round where he told Anthony, I'm going to be the boss in here, and was doubling up that jab. Did you know in the first round Daniel was going to do that?
Yeah. He had to go on the offensive. That was the tactics. The tactics were perfect. Don knows AJ, and and I've seen him a lot. I'm not stupid. I've been doing this for a long time. I know when I feel the time's right and making the right moves at the right time and the styles, and we got it right. Between all of us, we got it right.
His jab, one of the best in the heavyweight division.
He's got a great jab. I don't care who you are, whatever weight you are. If you can't jab, you ain't going to fight too well. The jab is the best punch. Good fighters, great fighters have great jabs. That's a fact of life. You go through history. Well,
the two best heavyweights really ever, Larry Holmes and Lennox Lewis.
Great jabs. Muhammad Ali, great jab. All the good fighters can jab. And if you can jab, that's it. Frank Bruno won his world title because of his jab when he fought Oliver McCall, who had knocked out Lennox at the time, coming off the knockout of Lennox.
That jab is not just, it doesn't just set up Daniel's offensive work with his right hand and left hook, etc. But it actually hurts you, that jab.
Well, it hurts you, and it and it's not, and it's a relaxed sort of thing. So as you're throwing it, you lose that, and you're getting your timing right, and you're getting your distance correct, and the head movement. And he got head movement. You start to see him. He's like he was rolling his shoulders and doing a little shimmy as he went in there. He was moving, not going in straight lines like he did against Hrgovic. He was getting that head movement going.
Did he look like the full package on Saturday?
It was the full package on Saturday. He done what he had to do, and he took a couple of big wallops. He took a couple of good whacks.
He's always had a good chin, actually.
Yeah, he's got a good chin. He's never been knocked. You've not seen him knocked flat out, have you?
No.
They've not been those type of defeats. He's where he's at the moment, he's obviously in a good place, but he was in a good place going into that fight.
That first round where he dropped him right at the end, and of course Anthony was saved by the bell,
Had that been, like a minute in or a minute and a half in, do you think Daniel would have finished him?
He's a good finisher. I think he would have stopped him. But look, it was what it was, and it was exciting while it lasted. I'm going to tell you one thing. I wasn't very happy with Marcus
McDonald?
No, I wasn't.
The referee, that is.
No, I wasn't.
Why?
I didn't like what he'd done in the first round. All that with a head, within sort of not hardly any time. I've never seen that happen in fights. And he weren't putting his head in as it's being suggested. I didn't feel very comfortable at all with it. And I haven't seen him, but I will tell him that face to face. But I wasn't very happy with him as a referee. I was happy with him, before the fight, but I just didn't. For me, I weren't happy with some of the things he did in the fight.
Anthony was incredibly brave, kept getting up from those heavy shots that Daniel dropped him with, but really, should the referee have stepped in third or fourth round, waved it off?
It could have done. I mean, I think it was one moment, did his two hands touch the floor and he didn't count him? He weren't on that.
And look, Ben Davison, fantastic trainer, what he's done so far, such a young man.
Ben's done a great job of it.
But should he have maybe thrown the towel in?
No, he did at the end, didn't he?
He did, but Anthony was knocked out, but he did.
It's a heavyweight title fight, and I bet if he'd have thrown the towel in, he would have been pissed off, AJ, if he'd have done that.
I understand that,
but hang on, he did come out and he threw that when he threw that right hand, he caught Daniel. So, at that moment, if he hadn't have taken that shot, who knows?
Yeah, that's a fair argument, but it's just the way, the manner of the fight. Actually, you're right. In the fifth round, Anthony, and at the end of the fourth, Anthony did land two very good shots. Yeah. But apart from that, it was all Daniel, and he
it was Daniel because Daniel stamped his authority.
But that's what I'm saying. He could have got really hurt, Anthony, that potential in that third round.
Well, listen, it's heavyweight boxing. That's what it is, and he fought and he showed at the end, AJ. He showed that he dug deep and tried to. He knew he'd be. What was he about? 7 rounds behind on the scoring with the knockdowns and whatever, and he did what you got to try and do. You got at that stage of the game, you got to go and try and take the fight away from your opponent, and he tried to do that, and he caught him with good shots, as I said, but that was his undoing.
I know you said in reference to the Ruiz fight in New York that potentially he might have not wanted to carry on that fight, but from Saturday night he showed a lot of heart.
That's what I just said. I told him that after the fight as well. I mean, listen, me and him have got no sort of relationship whatsoever for whatever, and that's probably a lot that goes down to when we, like with Eddie and myself, and going backwards and forwards, and he said something about one of my guys, and I would do the same, all the tit-for-tat bullshit. But, I've got a lot of respect for him and for what he's done for British boxing and what he's done in the Olympic Games and what he's done as a runner-up in the World Championships when I generally thought he won that. I thought it was a bad decision. He should have won that. And I've also been a critic of him when I've been asked to give my honest opinion. But at the end of the day, he's had a great ride. The British public loved him, and they showed that on Saturday night. They showed that, and they came out. Not just for him, they came out also for Daniel. As I said, he sold out the 20,000 seats at the O2 for the Joyce fight very early in his career. So they came out because they knew it'd be an exciting fight, and you know what? It bloody was. It was a very exciting night.
That ending, it's almost like you gave the fight ending away. Maybe you had a dream about it, but you said you want Anthony to throw that right hand.
I said it'd go 5 or 6 rounds. I felt it would, and as it started, I thought it was going to go a bit shorter. I really did. There's moments in that fight where I thought he was, like the bell, a couple of times the bell went right, just at the end of the round. But look, it was what it was, and it was bloody exciting. And that last round when they started throwing the bombs at each other, that was there was a bit of Hagler-Hearns about that. But it was a fabulous night. I mean, everything about it. Riyadh season comes to London. The Wembley edition, it was just magnificent. Brilliant, brilliant fights on the undercard. Atmosphere was unbelievable. I mean, what more do you want?
Liam Gallagher.
And Liam Gallagher on,
That fifth round, the ending, as you said, you wanted Anthony to chuck that big right hand, and he did. He landed flush on Daniel. But Daniel, you said Daniel was just in there solely to do a job. That mentality of taking that big shot, which could have rocked a lot of people, would have rocked a lot of people.
He's knocked people out with
shots. Knocked people out. within 7 or 8 seconds, Daniel's not just took that comeback and floored him.
Yeah, within seconds.
That says a lot about his mentality and art.
It shows you where he's at, and it shows you his fighting spirit.
He's a different beast now, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's the same beast, but I think he's just a different. It's the mentality is a little bit different. That's all. Everything has been there for him to do it, and that was his moment. And there's some more big moments coming up in his career. There's some great fights out there now.
Yeah, absolutely. He's only 27. That's very young for a heavyweight. And to be fair to, people who might say, "Oh, Joshua didn't really show up." The narrative before this fight was 4 back-to-back wins under Ben Davison. He's looked the best he ever has. Anthony Joshua. He was in the form of his life.
He was. That's what we said going into the fight. He was in the form of his life, and everybody said that. And let's get it right. Was there anyone in the media who tipped Dubois?
No, they said he had a chance, but they didn't pick him.
No one picked him at all.
No, only you, Don Charles, and Daniel, and the dad, of course, who's played a major role. Stan.
Yeah, he did. He done it. We all done that bit, but I knew he'd win. I had no doubt about that.
Frank, Wally Downs, writer from The Sun, made a really good point on social media. Just want you to talk about this. When it did end, Dubois didn't actually celebrate. He saw AJ was in a bad way, and he helped him back to his corner and checked on him. That's a very classy move from Daniel. Such a big moment for him.
Well, it is, and that's what it is. That's him. Like I say, it doesn't. There's nothing in him that's being hidden. What you see is what you get. How he is, and that's it. There's no bravado or anything. He's quite a decent person.
And actually, and understandably, as I said, it's such an incredible moment for the team. The trainers and the team all jumped in, like Don, Kieran, they all celebrating with him. He actually, just nudged them away, waited in Anthony's corner till the medic said he was all right, and then touched his glove and then walked off.
Correct.
So no one's actually picked up on that apart from Wally.
He did, and he's a class act, yeah.
So was Simon Jordan correct when he made his comments around PTSD and Joshua? What do you think about that? Do you remember?
Listen, Simon's a pundit, and he knows everything about everything.
But was he correct?
What, Pete?
He said he might get PTSD like from the Ruiz fight.
He got beaten to the punch. You don't think about these things. You don't say, "Oh, that reminds me of when I got hit in that fight." What happened was he got his head snapped. Watched the fight back. He snapped his head back, and that was it. And that was the telling moment in the fight. That first jab was the telling moment of the fight, because that is what was the key to it, and that's what kept setting up those big shots. Really a good, solid, powerful jab. Keeping the other guy on the back foot, keeping on the end of him. If he's on the back foot, he's not throwing his shots. He's not getting his shots away.
Were you surprised about how high Anthony's chin was and he was leaning back, wasn't really stepping back with his legs? Just
Well, look, if someone's hit you there and your chin's going back, your chin's up in the air. That's what happens to you. You get caught on the chin, up you go. He wasn't like this, was he? He was like that. He's down and he got clipped.
a point that Simon has raised on social media, which I know...
Who's this?
Simon Jordan. He's raised, and I understand what he's trying to say, but then going into this fight, you had to look at the commercially and like the economic side of things, and you have to understand that obviously Joshua is the draw, even though Daniel's the champion. But he said that thought it was piss poor that Dubois, the belt holder, was treated as a second-class citizen, had to come in first, and it was like a Joshua homecoming. But Joshua was the A side, so... No,
that's not what happened. But what does he know? He knows fuck all. He's always got some comment, piss poor. And I had to say, I spoke to him I'm sure I spoke to him about this. So what the situation is, we made the fight with AJ before Daniel, who was not champion of anything, fought Hrgovic. And they thought that, and I said to you earlier in this interview, that it was going to be Hrgovic against
Joshua,
because they thought he was going to win the fight. We made the fight, and it was on the understanding, and AJ was the A side because he was the bigger draw, bigger attraction. But we wanted the fight. I wanted the fight, so I agreed to that. Subsequently, he won the interim title. Subsequently, they stripped.
Usyk.
Sorry, didn't strip. Usyk vacated the title rather than defend against him. And that's how he became the champion. It's not piss poor, it's what it's happened. But I'll tell you what, he came out of the ring as the champion. That's what he did. And unless he fights the winner of the next fight and the winner of the fight on the 21st of December in Riyadh, where they will have the 3 belts, those guys whoever's the winner of that fight, which I believe it would be Tyson, if he were to fight him, big if, or Usyk, they will go in second because they've got 3 belts. That's what will happen. But in the meantime, whoever else he fights, he's the champion.
And he's the A-side, of course.
Why always looking for, why? Did it make any difference to Daniel?
No.
Did he? So we get it wrong because we didn't argue about who goes in the ring first. Weren't it better that we said, yeah, we'll go for that. We want the fight. We'll do whatever it takes to get that fight. And that's what we did.
Yeah, could you imagine if
that's what we did.
If you turned around...
Imagine you said the fight didn't happen because he wanted to go first.
You'd have got ridiculed for that.
Yeah. Absolute petty bullshit.
Well, you've brought up the future, and I didn't want to touch upon it too much in this interview because I think it's right to savour the moment for Daniel and celebrate what an unbelievable night it was. But you have mentioned it, so I'll bring it up. Obviously, a huge rematch on December 21st with Riyadh season with Usyk and Fury. The natural thing would be to put Daniel in with the winner of that fight. Does that make sense?
I can see where everybody's coming from with that. We'll see what happens. I mean, I've got to be honest, personally, I believe Tyson will do the job. And personally, I don't really want to see that fight happen between the two of them because I like them both, and I have made fights lots of time with that guys, and the business are called for it. But
how would you feel in that situation?
I would feel pretty awkward. So I'm just saying how it is. I'd much rather. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll just see what happens and we'll take it as it comes. So,
but if you have got the 2 best heavyweights in the
world... The 2 best heavyweights got to get it on, they'll get well paid. I'll make some, or Queensbury will make some money out. We're all
You can
doing
just
well
watch a fight like this, Frank.
But it's not one where you're sitting there like that. And I've been in that position a lot of times when I've got 2 guys who I'm like, but I'm, Daniel's been with him from day one, and Tyson... I'm very fond and close to Tyson, and I'm just telling you how it is.
Yeah. If I know you don't agree with this, but if Alexander Usyk beats Tyson Fury,
I'd make it in a heartbeat.
That rematch, yeah.
In a heartbeat.
Does he do him in the rematch, Dubois?
I think so. I think this Daniel Dubois beats him. I bet he wouldn't want to fight him.
What, Alexander Usyk?
I don't think so. And even if Usyk lost, it'd be a way back for him, wouldn't it, to fight for the title?
As long as you haven't got Lewis Pabon as referee again, Frank.
I think the referees are here now. Lewis Pabon's got no chance with me in any fight. I wouldn't have him a referee in any of my fights.
Well, I guess you haven't spoken to Daniel about that.
I haven't spoken to him. And it's all, as I say, it's all too soon. He's going on holiday at the end of the week, and when they come back, then we'll have a sit down and have a chat about the future.
Same outcome in the rematch, if it happens?
Yeah, I think so. That's not being disrespectful. I think he's got his number.
I know it's not your concern or your job at all, but just opinion-wise, if you were now in Anthony Joshua's corner looking after him, what would your advice be?
I'd tend to go and have a nice break, have a nice holiday, chill and think about things and come back and then make up your mind. Don't be influenced by anybody. You're no better than money. Like I always say, the fighter knows when it's time to go. He's the last to admit it. And he may not feel it's time to go. So if he doesn't feel that, then it is what it is. And he's got people around him who will care for him, both, I think, as trainers, promoters, managers, family, and he'll listen to all that advice and see, and he'll probably watch that fight and think what he could have done, what he should have done, what didn't happen, and all those sort of things, and he'll make his mind up.
If he does carry...
I told Derek Chisora to shouldn't be fighting.
Well, he's just beating Joe Joyce, so... Yeah.
So, that we've all got our opinions, and we all, and sometimes you get it right. You only say it because you feel it's the right thing to say. But, I'm a little bit in my head now is that, let the guys make their decision. And
again, if you were advising him and he said, I want to carry on fighting, he obviously avenged that loss with Andy Ruiz straight away, but would you say just stay away from Daniel Dubois in your next fight?
Me, I would say fight Daniel Dubois because that's what I would
if you were advising...
if I would advise Anthony, that's for his team to decide what they want to do.
What I'm getting at really is, would it be not the smartest career move to go straight back into a rematch with Daniel Dubois for Anthony's sake?
Or go and get a win and then
Look at it then.
Look, Tyson and Usyk are going to fight. I believe again that Tyson will come through. I really do genuinely believe that. And then after that, the landscape's there. There's so many good fights to be made between the winners, losers, loser v loser, winner v winner, winner v one of the losers. There's all good fights there, all competitive fights to be made.
I don't know what you can say because you're so close to Tyson and so close to Daniel, but how does a Fury Dubois fight pan out?
Has it pan
I'm not
out?
asking you for a prediction, but stylistically, how does that gel?
It's a totally different fight. Tyson's got a different boxing brain than AJ.
It's a fantastic fight though, Fury Dubois.
It's a great fight for both of them. It'd be a great fight. It'd be a great fight. But anyway, let's get this one out of the way first of all with Usyk.
Yeah. The run that he's had.
He's had 4 fights in a year.
Yeah, since August 23.
You cannot think of any heavyweight, modern day heavyweight, to have 4 fights in 12 months against all top 10, all fighters in the top 10. One was an undefeated champion. One was an undefeated interim champion who was number 1. Then it was Babe Miller who was undefeated and ranked. And then you got AJ, who was ranked number 1 or 2 by a couple of organisations. Am I right?
Yeah, IBF. Yeah.
IBF and I think the WBC had him in, or they
correct.
Right, so he was in number 1, and a former 2-time world champion at the age of he just turned 27, so he's 26 most of those fights. I can't think of anybody who's done that.
And also stadium in Poland, 2 in Saudi Arabia, and then the national stadium here.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone in boxing is doing that, let alone the heavyweight.
No one's done what he's done, and he needs a break now.
Yeah, I think he does.
Yeah.
I think he does. But just to close off on Daniel Dubois, as you said, he's only 27. He's boxed Joyce, Trevor Bryant, those last 4 names
Look
that
at
we've
his
discussed.
record.
This is just a start, though, for Daniel Dubois,
Yeah.
which is the exciting thing.
It is exciting times. He's a young heavyweight and he's an exciting heavyweight. One thing, whether you love him or hate him, I'm sure most people love him now, having seen what he's done, but he's never been in a boring fight, ever. He's always been exciting fights.
That is true. Now, you might think this is a bit of a laughable point, but I'm actually being quite serious with this now because, you had a great moment with the 10-0 in Riyadh with the 5v5, and there was a lot of banter that flew back from Matchroom and Queensbury. But is there something in this? Because you've had Cacace box Warrington on that card on Saturday. Your man won. Daniel Dubois just shocked the world, but not shocked you. And then those 5v5 fights, the bookies' favourite was Matchroom. Like I think it was 3-2 or 4-1 in majority to Matchroom. You've won every single fight. Is there something in that about your stable, your matchmaking, whatever it is, compared to theirs?
They're just matches that were made and matches that we feel comfortable with, and I felt comfortable with. We picked our weight divisions in the 5v5, and it's what I'm hoping we can do another one and keep them. Obviously I want to keep winning them. That goes without saying. But Eddie's the same. Look, we've had our moments and all the crap in the past and never spoke. And I've seen Simon Jordan accuse me of being a bully, didn't he? And put a tweet out, or Eddie and I are bullying Don. What's his name? Ben Shalom.
Ben Shalom.
And my mate, as he calls him, I having spoken with him and see that the work ethic he's got and how hard he works, and certainly like I used to do all that, flying all over the place and whatever it's like he does, and I've got great admiration for that, and I've enjoyed work. I would say I've enjoyed working because our guys have won some of the fights. But the facts of the matter is, it's been good. It takes 2 to make promoters work, make fights happen, and he's done really well. And it's been brilliant. We've been able to do this with the Riyadh season, and he talks about Simon Jordan. We're doing it with other people's money and all that nonsense, or and why we bullying Shalom. Listen, this is the boxing business. We're bullying. I'm 72 years old, bullying a 30-year-old. what is he, some sort of jerk off? If he can't stand the pressure, he's certainly in the wrong business. And Simon shouldn't, I don't know what it is with it. He's got such a thing about Ben Shalom. I wonder what's going on there.
And also, I think on that Matchroom point, Frank Smith does a great job for them as well.
He does. Like Ben in our office, Andy had to. We got a great team, and they got good staff. And I've got to tell you, and Frank's all right. He's all right. Once he gets into that maid's outfit, when he loses a bit more weight.
Yeah, when's that happening?
No, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, but
no,
you know.
But I'll tell you what he's got. Everyone's got a sense of humour, and we're enjoying it, and it's fun, and we're enjoying it because I'm enjoying it because obviously we've had some good results, but we're enjoying being involved in these spectacles, enjoying working with His Excellency. We're enjoying the boxing. We're enjoying the big moments, the big fights. Look at all last week, all the lead up to this fight, all the iconic venues that we've done various promotional activities in. All these things are brilliant, and I'm enjoying working. I'm enjoying working with Matchroom. I enjoy working with Spencer. I enjoy working with them. We are all working well together, and it's been great for the fans. There's no doubt about that, and that's all anybody should be worried about rather than keep criticising and criticising. You've had great fights, so find something. So what? Oh, we're having great fights. You know what though? I'll find something else to moan about. Get a life. It's about boxing. It's about the two guys in the ring. It's about them delivering, and whatever it takes for us to make it happen. Be pleased that we're working hard to make it happen between all of us. That's what everybody should be happy with. This should be a joyful moment for our sport. It's never been so, it's never been so exciting. So why on earth are you people digging out about, whether I'm talking to Ben Shalom or I don't like this one or who gives a flying about that? It's about the fights. Was it a good event on Saturday?
Probably the best I've been to in the UK.
And and the thing about the anthems. I mean, come on, always the British anthem always goes last. That's how it is. Go and watch it. The away team or the away country has an anthem or whatever. And it was the Riyadh season, part of the Riyadh season. That's what it was.
Yeah, it's just a spectacular event after another one, and I'm sure we'll get plenty more.
That's what it's about. And and
look at the people in attendance, like the stars you get attending these shows.
I mean, but boxing always gets the stars there. And we've had stars come along and be there and enjoying the events over the years. I mean, it's always boxing at its highest always brings out the stars. There's no doubt about that. But these events are just, they've just been so fabulous. I mean, wherever they've taken place, they're not moaning about the fights. Let's have a moan about the atmosphere. Let's moan about this. Whatever we want, it's the Brits. Let's find something to moan about. There must be some. Jesus, what a great fight that was. Now listen, what can we moan about? Is there something we can moan about? Do us a favour, get a life. Get a life. Enjoy life. You're only here once.
What's that dynamic like where you've got Fury like next to you, Alexander Usyk, Terence Crawford, Conor McGregor? Like it was just the who's who there on Saturday.
It was. I mean, it was nice. I mean, everybody turned out. It was brilliant, and it's great seeing these fabulous stars of our sport. We're all passionate about it. These guys have all been, they're the best. I mean, you're surrounded by the best in the sport, and great characters, great fighters. Coming there to see a great fight, a great evening of boxing. That's what we are. We're all, at the end of the day, we're all nuts about the sport. We love it. We love every moment. We're passionate about it. Listen, I'm 72. Most people have retired 7 years ago. I love it. I am enjoying it. I've always enjoyed the sport. I love every moment. I love the competitiveness of it. I love all that goes on. Times it can be tedious outside the ring, but I love watching the fights and I love being involved with the Riyadh season. And then, yes, we're making money. That's what it's called professional boxing. We're not amateurs. That's why we do it. But I love what's going on at the moment in the sport. So, but what I find annoying is that the constant trying to find something wrong with it. It's beyond me.
Well, going back to positives, again, something that doesn't get highlighted much, I think, because he doesn't like the cameras, is your son George and talking about.
Oh, he should get himself in there. He's more capable than me, that's for sure. But he's not interested. He's got no.
What a phenomenal job he's done, George.
And unbelievable job. Unbelievable job. He's there. He's not interested in being up front. I wish he would, because it stopped me. I could then take it a bit more easy. But he's not interested. He's not worried about the ego of it. He's very smart. He's very well liked by everybody, and I'm proud of him, as I am of Francis, who's doing a brilliant job with the management of his fight. I mean, the fighters he's pulling together, they're brilliant, and they're brothers, and they're great. It's great what they do, and I'm proud of them. I'm proud of all my kids and the different things that they do in their lives. But this is, this has been it's great. We're having a real ball at the moment.
Right, before we end this, let's quickly run through the undercard. Hamza Sheeraz is just getting better and better.
Yeah, he caught him right on the top of the head. That's the worst place you can get hit early on in a fight, and he does it in style, and he absolutely done it in style. We're just extending our agreement with him, our contract with him.
No, that's great news. This is a guy that, again, has been on a phenomenal run, really, Hamza Sheeraz, really gelling well with Ricky, his trainer out in LA, and now becoming one of the most talked about fighters in world boxing, Hamza.
Yeah. Ricky's done a brilliant job. He's a very good trainer, Ricky. I've got a lot of respect for him, a lot of time for him. Absolutely, top-class trainer.
Eubank was there on attendance.
Yeah, well, Eubank, I mean, we're never going to get that fight on after he see that, that's for sure. He'll go on the missing list, won't he?
Well, he said if it makes sense, he'll do it. That's what his
Makes sense. Well, it does make sense. Of course it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense for the money he's asking for.
Well, I know what he's offered, so...
Well, I mean, the money he wants, we're going to, sadly, we're going to have to drill a lot of oil out of the ground for him, that's for sure. Because I can't afford to pay that what he wants. It's ridiculous.
Aside from Chris Eubank Jr., surely now Hamza Sheeraz is ready for a world title?
Yeah, he is.
Next fight?
We'll see.
Okay. But you was happy with him against Tyler Denny?
Very happy. Done a job and done it in style.
Okay. Anto Cacace, Josh Warrington, comfortable night for Cacace, really?
He boxed really well. Josh come to fight. Josh does what he always does. He fights with his heart. But Anto's a good fighter, and he's shown what he's all about in his last few fights. And he's such a nice bloke. He's such a nice bloke, and I'm so thrilled for him.
And Simon, his manager, happy as well.
It's great for him. I mean, the whole team, and Anto. I'm pleased it's happening now because, he could have done this years ago, that, and he just never knuckled down properly, and had injuries and whatever. But the fact of the matter is, it's happening now for him, so it's better late than never. I mean, he's older than Josh was. Yeah. He's older than him.
Well, he had that pull-out. I remember on the Fury White card at Wembley, he was on the undercard. He had that disappointment the night before, and it just looked like his career was never going to get going. Yeah. And because of the Riyadh season,
it's frustrating because I've seen him. I think it was his brother I was sitting next to at a fight, and I really liked. I said to him, I can't remember who he was fighting one of our guys at the time. He went with us, and I knew that he could. I liked what I see. And he's got a good sense of humour. He's good to be around.
Eddie's got Sugar Nunes, the Mexican fighter, who's his mandatory. You're going to have to do that next?
We'll do that, yeah.
Okay. Might be a good one for a 5v5. Who knows?
Maybe.
I thought the scorecard, and I really like Willie. He's a fantastic fighter, Willie Hutchinson, but I thought the cards were really close on that with the Boatsy. I thought it was wider, to be honest.
I did.
You didn't?
No, I didn't. I thought if you watch it, I watched it back as well. You look at it, there was some close rounds there, and he certainly won the later rounds. He won some of the later rounds, and I thought again, I thought taking that point off him was very harsh because there was no real warnings, were they, before that? But listen, it is what it is. At the end of the day, Josh did well. I think he hurt Josh with a body shot. And I'm speaking as his promoter, obviously, but then Josh Boatsy did well. He stayed strong, and his body shots were perfect. So Willie's got to, regroup and come back, and we'll be there to help him do that because he's a good guy, and I've got a lot of time for him. And very competitive. He showed a lot of balls in that fight, as did Josh Boatsy. It's a good fight.
You didn't have a runner in this fight, but again, I thought the scorecards were pretty terrible.
What
with
fight was this?
Josh Kelly and Ishmael Davis. I don't know if you saw much of it.
I did see it. I watched the fight.
I thought Josh Kelly won it comfortably, and it was very close on the cards. Did you not think?
No, I didn't. I mean, I thought Josh won it, but I didn't think there was a lot in it.
Okay.
I didn't think there was a lot in it.
Up to be, I haven't watched the card back. This is all from. Yeah. Sometimes it is different watching it there, but I know Adam Booth wasn't very happy with the scorecards either. Josh's trainer, but yeah. Mark Chamberlain, very disappointing loss.
Very disappointing loss. Yeah, I mean, he just weren't at the races, was he? It's a bad night at the office, and we're going to sit down and have a chat. He's going off on holiday. When he gets back, I'm going to sit down. We have a chat, and he's going to have to regroup and sort yourself out.
He's what, 25 years old, Mark?
He's young. It's not the end of the world, you know. And I don't want to take nothing away from the other Josh who he fought. You know, it was
fantastic for him.
He showed up, didn't he? He showed up, and Mark didn't, and that was really what happened. And when you think of all those good wins he's had, Mark, he's shown what a good fighter he is. But that weren't. I mean, he didn't look good. It was made overweight, and perhaps that was a mistake.
What do you think Sam Noakes is thinking?
I should think he thinks he wants that fight. He wants it anyway. I know they both want to do it, but I want to do it where we can sell a big stadium out of it.
Do you have to get Mark a couple of wins and then maybe do that fight with Sam?
See what happens. See what happens when he comes back. See what happens with his weight and everything.
Okay, well that's quite a thorough review of Saturday night. Is there anything else you want to add about the event? Anything you want to get off your chest?
No, just what a fabulous event it was. How it was a successful night, certainly from our point of view, and that, what a great. It was just a fabulous night. It was good stuff.
Okay, Frank Warren, thank you very much for your time. Nearly an hour, so I do appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
Well, I feel like you could have talked for another hour.
I've got to hit the road now. What's the time?
1:30.
Shit, I'm supposed to be in London. Right.
I'll let you go. Thank you very much.
Cheers, me old son. Be good.